The Silent Observers. The Galactic Trade Summit convened once every solar cycle on Epsilon 7, a massive space station that floated in neutral territory between the 5 major powers of the known universe. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, constructed over 3 centuries by the combined efforts of dozens of civilizations. Its crystalline spires reached outward like frozen lightning, each one housing different species in environments tailored to their biological needs. Today, the Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with activity as representatives from 300 worlds gathered for the opening ceremony. The air shimmered with translation fields, converting thousands of languages into comprehensible speech. Beings of every imaginable form filled the tiered seating. From the towering Vortan warriors with their scales gleaming like polished obsidian, to the floating Zelthian scholars whose bodies consisted of pure thought, given temporary form through advanced technology. At the far entrance, almost unnoticed by the gathered powers, 3 humans walked into the chamber. They wore simple gray uniforms bearing the emblem of the Terran Coalition, a blue and green sphere representing their homeworld. Leading them was Ambassador Michael Torres, a man in his 50s with graying hair and steady eyes that had seen more than most would believe. Beside him walked Dr. Lisa Chen, Earth's chief scientific advisor, and Captain James Morrison, a decorated officer from Earth's Defense Forces. The Vortan delegation noticed them first. Commander Zrathek, a massive warrior standing nearly 3 meters tall, observed the humans with barely concealed amusement. His scales rippled with colors that indicated his emotional state to those who understood Vortan biology. Currently, those colors showed dismissive contempt. The mammals from Sol 3 have finally arrived, Zrathek rumbled to his subordinates, his voice carrying across the chamber despite his attempt at discretion. Look at them. No natural armor, no enhanced strength, no telepathic abilities. What did they do to earn a seat here? Discover fire? Laughter rippled through the Vortan section. Several other delegations turned to observe the humans, their curiosity mixed with condescension. The humans were indeed unremarkable by galactic standards. They stood at average height, possessed no visible weapons or defensive capabilities, and moved with a cautious uncertainty that suggested they were overwhelmed by their surroundings. Ambassador Torres led his team to their assigned seats in the lower tier, a section reserved for newly inducted members and species of minimal galactic significance. He had expected this reception. Earth's introduction to the wider universe had been recent and abrupt, occurring only 5 years earlier, when a Zelthian exploration vessel had detected radio signals emanating from the Sol system. The Zelthians had been intrigued enough to investigate. What they found was a species that had just achieved basic space travel, possessed primitive weapons technology, and showed no signs of the advanced capabilities that marked truly civilized races. No faster-than-light communication, no quantum computing, no genetic enhancement programs. The Zelthians had cataloged humanity as a Class 7 developing species. Interesting but ultimately insignificant on the galactic stage. High Scholar Verath, the leader of the Zelthian delegation, observed the humans from his elevated platform. His form flickered slightly, a sign of active thought processes. Unlike the Vortans, who judged species by military might, the Zelthians measured worth through intellectual achievement and technological advancement. They have shown no breakthrough innovations, Verath communicated telepathically to his fellow scholars. Their mathematics are functional but unrefined. Their physics understanding is centuries behind our current models. Their approach to problems is linear and lacking in dimensional perspective. I fail to see why the Council granted them observer status so quickly. Another scholar responded, the regulations require it once a species achieves basic space travel and requests contact. Though I agree their contributions will likely be minimal. Perhaps they will learn something from observing true civilization. The summit's opening ceremonies proceeded with traditional grandeur. The station's central AI announced each delegation, highlighting their achievements and contributions to galactic society. The Vortans were praised for maintaining peace through strength, their military prowess having ended countless conflicts through sheer deterrence. The Zelthians were honored for their scientific discoveries that had advanced every field of knowledge. The Mirian Collective received recognition for their agricultural innovations that fed billions across dozens of worlds. When the humans were announced, the description was brief and somewhat embarrassing. The Terran Coalition, representing the Sol system, recently achieved basic space travel and has expressed interest in joining the galactic community. They have provided detailed information about their world's biodiversity and cultural practices. Captain Morrison felt his jaw tighten at the dismissive tone, but Ambassador Torres placed a subtle hand on his arm. "Patience, James," the ambassador whispered. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. Let them underestimate us. It's not the first time humanity has been counted out." The ceremony continued for another hour, filled with speeches and presentations that showcased the achievements of established powers. The humans sat quietly observing everything, their expressions neutral despite the occasional pointed comment directed their way. Then, in the middle of a particularly long speech about trade agreements, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The hall's central display activated, showing an urgent transmission from the outer system. A Mirian transport convoy carrying agricultural supplies to a border colony was under attack. The image showed chaos. 5 cargo vessels, massive and slow, were being harried by a dozen smaller attack craft. The attackers moved with predatory precision, their weapons tearing through the cargo ship's minimal shielding. Escape pods were launching desperately, scattering like seeds in a storm. "This is Convoy Leader Prith," a panicked voice crackled through the speakers. "We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Requesting immediate military assistance. We have over 2,000 crew members aboard these vessels. Our shields are failing. We need help now." The assembly hall erupted into concerned discussion. Commander Zrathik stood immediately, his massive form drawing attention. "The Vortan Empire will dispatch a military response immediately. How far is the convoy from this station?" The station AI responded in its emotionless tone. "Convoy is located 4 light hours from Epsilon 7. Vortan vessels currently docked can reach the location in approximately 6 standard hours at maximum speed." 6 hours? Prith's voice was desperate. "We don't have 6 hours. Our shields will fail in 30 minutes. High Scholar Verith's form solidified slightly as he focused on the problem. "Can we establish a communications link with the attackers? Perhaps this is a misunderstanding that can be resolved through dialogue." The station AI attempted to open channels to the attacking ships but received no response. The assault continued without pause, the attackers methodically destroying one cargo vessel after another with cold efficiency. Other delegations began offering assistance, but each faced the same problem. The convoy was too far away, and their ships were either not designed for combat or not fast enough to arrive in time. The discussion grew heated as various powers argued about jurisdiction, response protocols, and whether this attack even warranted military intervention from summit attendees. Ambassador Torres watched the display with growing tension. The escape pods were being targeted now. The attackers weren't just after cargo. They were trying to kill everyone. He turned to Captain Morrison and Dr. Chen, his voice low and urgent. "James, do we have any ships in range?" Morrison pulled up a small datapad, checking Earth's limited space fleet positions. His eyes widened slightly. "Sir, the UNSS Endeavour is conducting survey operations in Sector 7-9. That's only 2 light hours from the convoy's position." "The Endeavour?" Torres frowned. "That's a science vessel, isn't it?" "It is, but it's also equipped with the new drive system we've been testing. The quantum compression engine. If it works as designed, we could cut travel time significantly." Morrison hesitated. "But sir, the Endeavour has minimal weapons." "It's not a warship." Dr. Chen leaned in, her mind already racing through possibilities. "We don't need weapons. We need speed and intelligence. Michael, we have to try." Torres looked at the display, watching another escape pod explode in a flash of light. 2,000 souls were dying while the galaxy's greatest powers debated procedures and response times. He made his decision. Standing from his seat, Ambassador Torres's voice cut through the arguing delegations. "The Terran Coalition has a vessel within 2 hours of the convoy. We're offering immediate assistance." The hall fell silent. Hundreds of eyes, sensors, and other perception organs focused on the human who had dared to interrupt the senior powers discussion. Commander Zrathek's scales rippled with colors indicating disbelief and amusement. "A human vessel?" The Vortan commander's laugh was like grinding rocks. "What do you have out there, Ambassador? A cargo hauler? A passenger transport? This situation requires military intervention." "With respect, Commander, this situation requires someone who can arrive in time to matter," Torres replied evenly. "Your vessels are 6 hours away. Ours can be there in under 2. High Scholar Vareth's form flickered with what might have been curiosity.
Impossible.
No ship can traverse 2 light hours in under 2 standard hours. The physics don't support such speeds outside of quantum tunneling, and your species has demonstrated no understanding of those principles. We've been busy, Dr. Chen said quietly, a slight smile playing at her lips. The Mirian delegate, an insectoid being with multiple compound eyes, clicked forward anxiously. If you truly can help our people, we beg you to try. But please understand the attackers are heavily armed. Your crew would be in grave danger. Morrison stood beside his ambassador, his military bearing evident. Ma'am, with respect, danger is something humans understand very well. We'd like permission to proceed. The various delegations looked at each other, silent communications passing between them. The consensus was clear in their expressions. They believed the humans were either lying about their capabilities or about to get themselves killed. Either way, it would be an educational experience for the naive newcomers. Very well, Vareth finally announced. The Terran Coalition has permission to respond to the crisis. We will continue preparing our own forces as backup. Torres nodded curtly and activated his communication device. Within seconds, he had established a secure link to the UNSS Endeavour. Captain Sarah Williams, this is Ambassador Torres. We have a situation that requires immediate action. On the bridge of the Endeavour, 2 light hours away, Captain Williams listened to the briefing with growing determination. Her ship was crewed by only 60 people, scientists and engineers mostly, with a small security detail. They had been mapping asteroid fields and conducting geological surveys for the past 3 months. Now they were being asked to confront hostile attackers and rescue thousands of civilians. Sir, Williams responded, her voice steady despite the impossible task before her. The Endeavour is not equipped for combat operations, but we'll do everything we can. Engaging quantum compression drive now. The Endeavour transformed from a slow-moving research vessel into something that made the station's sensors scream warnings. Space itself seemed to compress around the ship as it accelerated at speeds that should have been impossible. The human vessel disappeared from conventional tracking, moving through space in a way that the gathered powers had never witnessed from such a primitive species. In the assembly hall, shocked silence prevailed as the tracking data updated. The human ship was moving at velocities that matched their most advanced military vessels, perhaps even exceeded them. Commander Zrathek's scales lost their amused colors, replacing them with shades that indicated confusion and grudging interest. How? High Scholar Vareth's form solidified completely. All his processing power focused on analyzing the data. This is impossible. Their technology was assessed as primitive. There must be an error in the readings, but there was no error. The UNSS Endeavour was racing toward the besieged convoy, at speeds that challenged everything the galaxy thought they knew about human capabilities. And on board that ship, Captain Williams and her crew were about to demonstrate that humanity's greatest strength had nothing to do with technology. It was something far more dangerous. The ability to adapt, to improvise, and to never give up when lives were on the line. The awakening. The UNSS Endeavour dropped out of quantum compression 200,000 kilometers from the embattled convoy. Captain Sarah Williams stood on her bridge, a compact space filled with scientific equipment that had been hastily repurposed for this emergency. Her crew of 60 watched their displays with intense focus, many of them scientists who had never expected to face combat situations. Status report, Williams commanded, her voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her tactical officer and one of the few actual military personnel aboard, studied his sensors. 12 hostile vessels, frigate class by their energy signatures. They're using plasma-based weapons, standard galactic military hardware, 5 cargo ships in the convoy. 3 are already critically damaged. I'm reading multiple hull breaches and life support failures. Escape pods are scattering, but the hostiles are targeting them. Williams felt anger rise in her chest. Targeting escape pods was a violation of every civilized warfare convention, human or otherwise. Identify the attackers. Working on it, Captain. Cross-referencing with the Galactic database Ambassador Torres uploaded. Webb paused, his expression darkening. Got them. Krillian Raiders. They're listed as a mercenary group operating outside Council jurisdiction, known for scorched earth tactics and taking no prisoners. Dr. Raymond Foster, the ship's chief scientist, looked up from his station with alarm. Captain, the Krillians have a reputation. They don't negotiate, they don't retreat, and they never leave witnesses. If we engage them, they'll come after us with everything they have. Then we'd better make sure our first move counts, Williams replied. She activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to do something that doesn't appear in any manual. We're a science vessel facing military-grade hostiles. We don't have heavy weapons, we don't have reinforced armor, and we're outnumbered 12-1. What we do have is something these raiders have never encountered before. She paused, letting her words sink in. We have human ingenuity. We have the ability to look at impossible situations and find solutions that no one else would consider. Lieutenant Webb, what's the status of our experimental systems? Webb consulted his display. The quantum compression drive is operational but needs a 30-minute cooldown before another jump. The electromagnetic pulse generators we installed for clearing debris fields are fully charged. The mining drones we've been using for asteroid sampling are ready for deployment, and the sensor array modifications Dr. Foster designed for deep space scanning are online. Good. Williams turned to Foster. Raymond, those sensor modifications, can they be weaponized? The scientist blinked in surprise. Weaponized? Captain, they're designed to detect geological formations. They work by sending out concentrated electromagnetic pulses and analyzing the returns. Concentrated electromagnetic pulses, Williams repeated slowly. What would happen if we directed those pulses at a ship's sensor array? Understanding dawned on Foster's face. It would overload their systems, temporarily blind them. But Captain, the range is limited, maybe 50,000 kilometers at most. Then we get close. Williams smiled grimly. Marcus, plot an intercept course that brings us within range of the lead hostile. Raymond, prepare to hit them with everything our sensors can generate. I want their entire sensor suite overloaded. Back on Epsilon 7, the gathered delegations watched the human ship's approach with growing confusion. Instead of hanging back and assessing the situation as any sensible commander would do, the Endeavor was accelerating directly toward the hostile fleet. They're committing suicide, Commander Zratek observed, though his tone held less certainty than before. No single ship can engage 12 hostiles and survive. High Scholar Vareth's form flickered rapidly, processing multiple scenarios. Their approach vector is unusual. They're not moving like a military vessel. There's no tactical positioning, no attempt to use the convoy ships as cover. They're simply flying straight at the enemy. Ambassador Torres watched the display with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Dr. Chen stood beside him, a slight smile on her face. They're not thinking like military commanders, she said quietly. They're thinking like scientists solving a problem. The Krillian raiders noticed the approaching human ship and responded with predatory interest. Their leader, a being known as Shakros, observed the newcomer on his command display. The Krillians were reptilian in appearance with scales that had evolved for their harsh homeworld. They communicated through a series of hisses and clicks that their translator converted into Galactic Standard. New contact approaching at high speed, his tactical officer reported. Single vessel, unknown configuration. Energy signature is minimal. Weapon systems appear limited. Shakros's forked tongue flickered with amusement. One ship? They send one ship to challenge us? What foolish species would attempt such stupidity? Database identifies them as humans, Commander. Recently contacted species from the Outer Rim. They're classified as primitive by galactic standards. Primitives playing hero. Shakros made a sound that approximated laughter. Destroy them quickly, then return to finishing off these cargo ships. No witnesses, as always. 3 Krillian vessels broke formation and moved to intercept the Endeavor, their plasma cannons charged, ready to vaporize the presumptuous human ship in a single coordinated strike. They closed to firing range, targeting solutions locked, fingers on triggers. Then the Endeavor did something completely unexpected. The ship rotated 180 degrees without changing its velocity, a maneuver that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size. Its sensor array, now pointing directly at the 3 Krillian ships, unleashed a concentrated electromagnetic pulse designed to penetrate asteroid fields and analyze deep geological structures. The effect on military-grade sensor systems was catastrophic. The 3 Krillian ships went blind instantly. Their targeting computers crashed, their communication systems overloaded, their navigation displays showing nothing but static. The ships tumbled through space, their pilots desperately trying to regain control of systems that had been overwhelmed by an attack they had never anticipated. What happened? Shakros roared at his communications officer. Report. Unknown, Commander. All 3 ships report total sensor failure. They're operating on manual controls only. Whatever the humans did, it fried every detection system they had. On the Endeavor, Williams watched the chaos with satisfaction. That worked better than expected. Deploy mining drones pattern Delta 7. 20 small drones launched from the Endeavor's cargo bay. Each one was designed for drilling into asteroids and collecting samples, equipped with powerful cutting lasers and magnetic clamps. Under Webb's control, they swarmed toward the blinded Krillian vessels like angry hornets. The drones attached themselves to the hostile ships' hulls and began cutting. Not through the armor, that would have taken too long, but through sensor arrays, communication antennas, and weapon targeting systems. Within minutes, the 3 Krillian ships were completely deaf, blind, and unable to fire accurately. Shekros watched his tactical display with growing alarm as 3 of his vessels went completely dark. All ships converge on the human vessel. Concentrate fire. The remaining 9 Krillian ships abandoned their assault on the convoy and turned toward the Endeavor. Their plasma cannons lit up space with brilliant streams of superheated energy. Williams had anticipated this response. Execute evasive pattern Omega-3, she ordered. Raymond, I need you to do something with our shields. Our shields? Foster looked confused. Captain, we have basic deflector shields designed to protect against micrometeoroids. They won't stop military-grade plasma weapons. I don't need them to stop the weapons. I need them to scatter the plasma. Can you modulate the shield frequency to create interference patterns? Foster's eyes widened as he understood. Yes! If we cycle the shield harmonics rapidly, the plasma will disperse before impact. It won't stop the attack completely, but it will reduce the effective damage by 60, maybe 70%. Make it happen. The Endeavor danced through space with an agility that shouldn't have been possible for a vessel its size. The quantum compression technology that powered its engines allowed for rapid directional changes that defied conventional physics. Plasma bolts that should have struck dead center instead grazed past, their energy scattered by rapidly modulating shields. But Williams knew they couldn't keep dodging forever. The Krillians were adjusting their tactics, attempting to box the Endeavor in with crossfire. She needed to change the dynamic of the engagement entirely. Marcus, how many of those EMP generators do we have left? 4, Captain. But they're designed for clearing debris, not combat. They have a limited range and take 90 seconds to recharge between pulses. That's 90 seconds more than these raiders expect us to have. Prepare to fire on my mark. Williams studied the tactical display, watching the Krillian ships move into formation. They were clustering together, trying to create a kill zone that the Endeavor couldn't escape. That clustering was exactly what she needed. Now, Marcus. Hit them with everything! 4 EMP generators fired simultaneously, releasing electromagnetic pulses that rippled through space like invisible tsunamis. 6 Krillian ships caught in the overlapping fields experienced cascading system failures. Their shields collapsed, their weapons went offline, and their ships became little more than drifting metal coffins. On Epsilon 7, the assembly hall had gone completely silent. Every delegation watched the impossible unfold on their displays. A single human science vessel was systematically dismantling a Krillian raider fleet using weapons that weren't even designed for combat, Commander. Zrathek's scales had shifted to colors indicating shock and reassessment. How are they doing this? Those ships have military-grade defenses. The Krillians are trained warriors. How is a science vessel defeating them? High Scholar Vareth's form was flickering so rapidly it was almost strobing. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered. There's no formal military doctrine in their tactics. They're improvising, using equipment in ways it was never designed for. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and absolutely devastating. Ambassador Torres allowed himself a small smile. That's humanity in a nutshell, High Scholar. We don't follow the rules because we often don't know what the rules are. We see problems and we solve them with whatever tools we have available. Back in the combat zone, only 3 Krillian ships remained operational. Shekros stared at his displays in disbelief. 9 of his 12 ships were disabled or destroyed by a single vessel, crewed by primitives. It was impossible, yet it was happening. Retreat, he ordered, his voice hollow with shock. Jump to hyperspace immediately. But Captain Williams had anticipated this as well. While the Krillians had been focused on the Endeavor, she had deployed another set of mining drones throughout the battle space. These drones weren't equipped with cutting lasers. They were carrying the ship's emergency beacon transmitters, modified to emit powerful jamming signals. When the 3 remaining Krillian ships tried to engage their faster-than-light drives, they found their navigation computers overwhelmed with conflicting signals. Jumping to hyperspace without proper navigation was suicide, a one-way trip into a star or worse. Williams opened a communication channel to the Krillian command ship. Her face appeared on Shakross's display, and the raider leader saw something in her eyes that chilled him. It wasn't anger or hatred. It was cold, calculated determination. Krillian vessels, this is Captain Williams of the UNSS Endeavour. You have 3 options. 1. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be held for trial by Galactic Council authorities. 2. Attempt to flee and be destroyed. Your navigation systems are currently compromised, and any jump attempt will be fatal. 3. Continue fighting and be disabled like your other ships. Shakross's mind raced. He had raided dozens of convoys, attacked hundreds of ships, and never once had he been defeated. Now this human, this primitive from a species the galaxy dismissed as insignificant, had outmaneuvered him at every turn. You've won this engagement, human, Shakross hissed. But know this. The galaxy will fear you now. When others see what you've done here, they won't see heroes. They'll see a dangerous unknown. You may have saved these civilians, but you've marked your entire species as a threat. Williams' expression didn't change. Then they'll finally be seeing us clearly. We're not looking for fear, Commander, but we won't be overlooked anymore either. Now, what's your choice? There was a long pause. Then, one by one, the 3 remaining Krillian ships powered down their weapons and shields. Shakross's voice came through the communication channel, defeated and bitter. We surrender. The Endeavour immediately dispatched rescue teams to the damaged convoy ships. Human crew members, many of them scientists with no combat training, worked alongside the grateful Mirian crew to stabilize life support and rescue trapped personnel. Dr. Foster used his geological analysis equipment to locate survivors behind collapsed bulkheads. Lieutenant Webb coordinated the recovery of escape pods, ensuring every single person was accounted for. Within 3 hours, all 2,300 convoy members were safe. Not a single life had been lost after the Endeavour's arrival. The human crew had suffered minor injuries from the violent maneuvering, but nothing serious. On Epsilon 7, Ambassador Torres received a communication request from High Scholar Vareth. When the connection established, the Zelthian's form was solid and focused. All hints of condescension gone from his mental voice. Ambassador Torres, the Council requests your presence in the High Chamber immediately. Torres, Dr. Chen, and Captain Morrison entered the High Chamber to find all senior delegates assembled. The atmosphere had changed completely from the dismissive reception they'd received hours earlier. Now hundreds of eyes watched them with a mixture of respect, wariness, and in some cases fear. Commander Zrathek spoke first, his scales showing colors of grudging respect. Ambassador Torres, humanity has demonstrated capabilities far beyond our initial assessments. Your quantum compression technology, your tactical adaptability, your unconventional approach to warfare, these are not the traits of a primitive species. High Scholar Vareth's form flickered thoughtfully. We have analyzed the engagement extensively. Your crew faced impossible odds and achieved total victory using improvised tactics and repurposed civilian equipment. This suggests a level of creative problem-solving that we have never encountered. We must reassess our evaluation of your species entirely. Torres nodded slowly. High Scholar, Commander, with respect, you assessed us based on what you expected to see. You looked for the technologies you understand, the capabilities you recognize. You didn't look for what makes humanity unique. And what is that? The Mirian delegate asked, her compound eyes focused intently on the human ambassador. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Adaptability. Every species in this chamber evolved to fit specific environmental niches. You developed technologies that enhanced your natural strengths. Humanity had no such advantages. We were persistence hunters on a hostile world. We survived not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being able to adapt to any situation, to solve any problem, to never give up no matter how impossible the odds seemed. You survived by being unpredictable, Vareth observed, by thinking in ways that other species cannot anticipate. We survived by being creative, Torres corrected gently, by looking at every tool, every resource, every possibility, and asking not what it's designed for, but what it could be used for. That's what Captain Williams did today. She had a science vessel and she turned it into a warship. She had mining drones and she turned them into weapons. She faced an impossible situation and she made it possible. The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed this. Finally, Commander Zrathek stood, his massive form dominating the space. Ambassador Torres, the Vortan Empire wishes to propose immediate elevation of humanity to full council membership. Your species has proven itself worthy through action. Other delegations voiced their agreement. The Zelthians, the Myrians, even species that had barely acknowledged humanity's presence, now spoke in favor of full recognition. But Torres raised his hand, surprising everyone. We appreciate the offer, truly. But humanity doesn't want a seat on this council because we've proven we can fight. We want it because we can contribute. Today wasn't about showing our military strength. It was about showing that we care about lives, all lives, regardless of species or origin. That's what makes us human. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings from across the galaxy. The galaxy overlooked us because we seemed weak. But strength isn't just about weapons or technology. It's about character, about determination, about standing up for what's right even when it seems impossible. If you give us a seat on this council, it won't be because you fear us. It will be because you trust us to do the right thing, even when it's hard. High Scholar Verath's form solidified completely, and for the first time, something like emotion colored his telepathic voice. Ambassador Torres, I believe I speak for the entire council when I say that humanity has not only earned our respect today, you've earned our trust. Welcome to the Galactic Council as full members. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval, dozens of species showing their agreement in their own unique ways. Ambassador Torres bowed slightly, acknowledging the honor, while Captain Morrison stood straighter with pride, and Dr. Chen smiled with satisfaction. They had come to this summit overlooked and dismissed. They were leaving as equals, not through conquest or intimidation, but by demonstrating the very best of what humanity could be. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never again would they make the mistake of underestimating the species from Sol 3. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same.